So I'm trying something new today, but I wanted to go ahead and try like a different approach. Yes, that is a pile of blankets over there that I totally don't need this time of year because it's too hot even when the air conditioning's on. Although sometimes I do get cold. So I've been gone because I have been on this. Get my lighting right. I need to get a light and like a proper microphone and setup at some point. We all know this. I've been off on this journey of starting the process of getting a service dog for balancing and mobility. And I am super excited. I am in an office chair, so in case any of you are like, "Are you in a wheelchair?" I'm like, "No, I'm not in a wheelchair. I can still walk, um, except when my leg decides to not talk to the spine properly, which is the reason, one of the many reasons why I need a dog." Um, and oh, and I'm excited though because it's taken me 5 years. I started to research this about 5 years ago because I met somebody when I was an undergrad who had a service dog, and my quality of life had just gone like this, like just not like this, but like this, in a very short amount of time. I already had genetic spinal problems. I don't want to go through all that right now. If you really want to know that journey, there's a scoliosis video on my channel you can reference. June was Scoliosis Awareness Month, by the way. And it started with that, and it's just kind of become these other degenerative spinal conditions since then. As I feel like shrieking, you can tell on my face, it's like the shriek expression, like, but yeah, that I'm really excited. I'm really excited because I already felt like I got a little bit of my life back after the latest spinal fusion. I look like Wolverine on the inside. Yeah. And I'm hoping I get more. So if I'm like really, really giddy, it's because of that. It's like this sense of like anticipation, relief, a bit of anxiety because it does cost a lot to get a service dog. In the United States, there is not a single health insurance company that helps subsidize that, which needs to change, along with a lot of other things in our health insurance market. And 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 I found out that I do qualify for some sort of subsidization through the federal government, but that's if the people in my state aren't like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have this specific type of thing that I can visually check out and see that you are disabled visually in the way I think as the interviewer," and say no, because that is a thing that happens because people are purposefully not taught about different types of disability or the different ways it can manifest in somebody's life. And it just is what it is right now. I'm hoping that changes. I'm actually going to start to have more disability and disability justice related content on my YouTube channel because I am so done. I'm just done with that. I want with people not understanding. I'm like, I shouldn't have to educate you. No one should. That puts undue burden on the other person that's going through it, but it's like a daily thing. So in addition to people dealing with their conditions, they have to go out being worried they're going to be harassed because they don't look disabled in the way people are taught. Or, well, you don't behave that way. Oh, well, you're walking fine now, so you must not need that. See, like, even the sun agrees. The sun's like, the sun will go away now. This is a serious topic. But in all seriousness, yeah, like, it's messed up. Especially for people who have autoimmune-related issues. That stuff's not always visible. It can be, especially depending on how it's manifesting or if it's in the later stages for certain types of things. I have one friend I've known for a long time who has autoimmune disorder and is doing okay, but I'm also kind of like, like, I want to take everything that I learned from this experience and be able to share it with other people because we all need each other. Because it sure does seem like that the society just doesn't give a shit. So I wish I was more optimistic. Yeah, so, but the good news is there's a route that I can attempt to take, and hopefully I'll get somebody who's a good rehab counselor, vocational rehab here in Nevada, and they'll get in contact somehow and understand that, like, I need this for these reasons. These are my vocational goals. I have them all laid out. This is where I'm going. I'm starting a doctoral degree this year. These are the different sectors of business sectors I've looked at wanting to work in. Yes, I've already done a teaching practicum at an undergraduate level at a very nice university. I'm aware that teaching might be a thing I want to do. I'm aware, just different things that they may ask me. It's like, what are your goals? These are my goals. What are the things you're having difficult? These are the things. What do you need? This is what I need. Why? This is why. And see where it goes from there. Yeah, I guess that my hair is such a mess, man. Quarantine hair, just. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna try that route. And my family is alongside me in this process, being like, you can do it. And my friends are too. So I'm thankful, because not everybody has that support network. And sometimes it's difficult with some family members because they're like, well, why would you want this? I'm like, because I need it. It's not that I want it. I've tried for over about 5 years now, since things have gotten worse again with my spine, to not need it. I have spent copious amounts of money because the United States health insurance system likes to penalize sick people until we're dead. I'm not going to mince words. We all know that's really what it is, okay? And to pretend it's not a marked genocide against a specific demographic is stupid, because it's what it is. Yeah. So, but that's where I'm at, where I'm just like, I need this. It's part of Voc rehab. It literally is. It is something that I know will give me the ability to go out and feel like if anything starts to go wacky during my day, or if I wake up and it's automatically one of those days, that's already taken care of. I already have a health partner, which is the service dog, right? I don't have to be scared about being stranded somewhere and not being able to get up, or like those kinds of things, okay? So, important things, yes, to be able to go about your life, I would think so. Now, the other thing I want to say in this video that I don't feel like a lot of people really understand, because I know I talked to one person and they were well-meaning, but they were just kind of like, there's no way it should cost that much. That doesn't seem right. I'm like, no, it does cost that much. I love how I talk to you and like my sun goes away and my light isn't very bright and now we're just in darkness together. Oh, but there we go. Like that. One of my friends was just kind of like, oh, it doesn't seem right. I'm like, no. $20,000 for a service dog is actually pretty basic, and almost in some cases, depending on what the dog's being trained for, reasonable. And I know that sounds horrific, but it's true. And I actually, if you do the calculations of what minimum wage is on average throughout the United States, and then you take that as an annual salary before taxes, and you think about, in the case of the dog that I'm getting, it'll take 2 years to train that dog. Okay, so that's 2 years of somebody's time. That also means you're buying the dog. And I want you to understand, I know that I've always been like a rescue person. Like I've had a few dogs that are SPCA. One of them I had for 15 years. He was a great dog. I named him Steinbeck because we lived in Salinas, California at the time. And I was born in Monterey, Tannery Row. And so I named him after the American author John Steinbeck because he was a wily, ornery corgi mix. Anyway, so he was with us for 15 years. And we have 2 boys now who are now seniors, and they're also from the SPCA, but they were from Stanislaus County in Northern California before we moved here to Las Vegas. And basically like a medical cost exodus, I'm just going to be honest with you, that's really part of what all that fiasco was in my family. It wasn't just me, it was a lot of other people, a lot of other circumstances that had to do with different health issues that my senior parents have as well, that just priced us right out of being able to afford to continue to live in California. So when people talk about, oh, those nasty Californians moving in, wanting to change everything, they're terrible, I'm like, F you, man. Like, I didn't want to have to leave, and I'm not here to change your way of life. I'm here to survive, Like, we're literally economic refugees, medical ones, and you're just gonna spit on us? Thanks. Also, my dad My dad's from Kingman, Arizona, and he spent time growing up in Las Vegas, so he was living here before any of y'all moved here yourselves. So, but I guess what I'm saying is that when you go and you get the dog, you're paying for the dog too, right? It's not just the years of training, it's the dog. And a lot of times purebred dogs, for those of us like me, we're like, oh my gosh, it costs that much for a purebred breed dog. Yes, it does. And there are reasons. That you're paying for the cost of the dog, which in a lot of cases, not all cases for service dogs, are purebred dogs. And then you're paying for however long the training is. So if you put that in one column and you put like the minimum wage in another column, annual, before taxes in the United States, you would see that like somebody asking you for 20 grand for a dog, even though it is horrific, like it's a lot, especially for somebody who maybe is having trouble working or having their body work would be a better way to put it. That's actually, from a fiscal standpoint, a fairly reasonable price point. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think what makes me the most sad about it is the fact that like health insurance companies just don't care in this country. They're just like, oh, you need that service dog in order to go about your life? Oh, well, fuck you, too bad. Like, that's too bad, so sad. Oh, you mean, that like, several $100,000 back surgery you had that we covered this much of, but you still had to pay $7,000 out of pocket because Nevada's state health insurance exchange is completely crap for people who are not seniors and are not currently employed, but may have other health issues, like me, where there's no PPO I can buy. I have to buy an EPO at around a wonderfully reasonable rate of just under $500 a month. Yeah. So, all y'all who are watching this who are from another country where, like people actually, properly subsidize health care, I wish that people in my country weren't so callous as to leave everyone out in the cold like we do. Like, it's sick. Ironically, it's actually sick that people do that and somehow find a way to rationalize it. And I think it's actually heinous is a stronger word for it. It's heinous. Yeah. So I'm optimistic about taking this vocational rehab route. I talked to the person I'm working with in their organization, and they seem to think that would be a possibility and a good fit for me, as long as the vocational rehab counselor, again, understands things and isn't like, well, you're not specifically this one type of disability I see in my mind's eye, so therefore I will not stamp it. So what happens is the person I'm working with actually will get subsidized through Voc Rehab. So that checking out would be great, because then I would just have to pay for meeting the dog and the kind of like the walkabout training kind of stuff, and so my trips there basically, and then I had to put down a deposit on the dog, right? So yeah, and I really like this group of people. They seem pretty chill and really sweet. So it's funny because I was looking at them 5 years ago, and I ended up like looking all around, and I was like, no, I kept having dreams that had this specific breed in it. And I was like, I had two, well, not a lot of them, but I had two in the last few months since quarantine started. And I was like, nah, I already talked to them, and it was 20 grand, and there wasn't any way that I could, and I called them back, and I was like, well, and they were like, there's the Voc rehab route that sounds like you actually qualify for, and I'm like, so, I guess the message there is sometimes follow through on that gut feeling, especially if you're having dreams about it. And I know not all of us have gut feelings. They're like reliable, neurodivergent friends looking at you. I love you. But I'm aware that not all of us have gut feelings we can trust, okay? But if you are a person where typically in the pattern of your lifetime, that your gut feelings are kind of more or less, probably 80% right most of the time, consider it. I didn't say take it, but consider it. Just take a moment. maybe follow through on it, especially if it's just simple as like calling somebody and asking them some questions, which I also know for some people is not simple. For a multitude of reasons. But I'm a 90s kid and I can deal with it. And I also don't have other disabilities that get in the way of calling. So, yeah, this was a lot longer of a rambly update than I thought it would be. Hello, truck. If you stuck with me this long, thank you for doing so. I'm optimistic. And also in the next few months, my family is looking to move out of here and out of Vegas because it's just not looking good economically. And although my family isn't dependent on the unemployment or other things, because again, both parents are retired, and there's me who I'm going to school and I'm getting help going to school. So we can actually we're in the middle of saving so we can eventually get a place somewhere else. But with COVID happening, it has really thrown a monkey wrench in all those plans because all of us have different health problems, and we certainly don't want to cause any problems for anybody while we're traveling or where we move to. We take that very seriously in my family. So I hope you all are all right where you are. I know that for a lot of countries, this isn't really much of an issue anymore. And if you live in a country like that, boy, howdy, am I jealous. But here in Las Vegas, it's pretty bad still. And where I'm going to school online and is in Washington, the state of Washington, and their cases are still pretty darn bad and high too. So yeah. On the other brighter side of things, we may be going ahead and doing that, and I may either stay in the same household as my parents, or I have a friend who may be going to school up in that region as well, and we have talked about splitting rent. So that would be cool, because last time I lived on my own, I lived at dorm, and in the ADA wing at Mills College in Oakland, California, and I really loved that. I miss it. I miss that. Even with my hallmates kind of fluttering. Fluttering in and out of things, it was still really nice. And I think being a doctoral student and being around somebody who's finishing their BA, even though they're in my age group, I'm so happy for them, is going to be like this great thing. And I hope it works out well for both of us, if that ends up being the route that is a thing, because that would be exciting. So that's what's been going on in my life. I just bought my textbooks too. That was a chunk of change, but not as bad as it could have been. And all the ones I couldn't get as ebooks, I'm messaging Disability Access and letting them know that I couldn't get them that way. It doesn't matter as much this semester because I'm not going to be doing an on-campus immersion. We're doing a virtual immersion, so I don't have to travel. But I think it's just good for me to get in the habit of doing the Disability Access ebook request thing. In addition, I don't always have the ability to lift up lots of books and put them places and crane my neck looking at them and stuff, because spines, the magic that are spines. That's all I can say. I love all of you very much. I have been watching Dark. I'm not done with it yet. I'm savoring it. You're like, Kelly, it's been like a month. What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. I just don't want it to end. So, when I do finish Dark, I will make a a YouTube video about it. And by then, I'm sure the internet will be like, yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. And I'm like, too bad, I'm making it anyway. Haha. And I'm watching some anime. The webtoons on Crunchyroll have been kind of surprising. I'm watching The God of High School, which more than anything, I'm just intrigued by their aesthetic, art style choices. And I'm digging having a protagonist that has goggles on their head again, because I'm cheesy and ridiculous, and somehow that means something to me, because my brain is silly and nostalgia. And I'm also watching a few other ones. I think it's called Gibiate. Yeah, people hella rap, they shat all over the first episode, and I was kind of looking at it being like, nah, it just kind of reminds me of those really, really slow, kind of more abstract, weird animes from the early 2000s that had, more of those, rust color schemes. It reminds me of some of those, so I'm gonna stick with it and see where it goes. The CG is atrocious. I will say it. I will agree with that. It is pretty damn bad. But if the story ends up being interesting enough, I'll stick with it. I think a lot of people too were really upset about it because it had to do with like the equivalent of a plague, literally. And everyone's like, "This is terrible timing. Please don't release this right now." I mean, they didn't say that, but you could tell everyone was like, "This is terrible timing," which I read as the underlying of, "This is making me uncomfortable, and therefore I will automatically hate it. Please don't release this right now." But that's not the thing people typed. But that was the vibe I was getting from people on the comment section. I was like, then maybe don't watch it if you're uncomfortable. Just maybe a recommendation. Yeah. There's also a few trash animes that I started to watch that I don't know how I feel about them yet. I may reveal them at a later date. I want to be getting a Funimation account because a lot of Funimation stuff is older, and I found out they have Witch Hunter Robin, and I must rewatch that because I've been in love with that opening theme song and the overall character designs and feel of that show for a long time. And I remember when Adult Swim used to have it on, and anybody who's been watching my channel has probably realized I am a person who likes more realism in the character designs of anime, and I'm a sucker for all those like more grungy, philosophical, weird, or warfare or terrorist kind of filled animes that may have more like they're like both drama and action. I basically love all those types of animes, so I really want to get a Funimation account so I can rewatch that and see if it's really as good or like I think angsty as I remember it being. I need you all to remember something. Even though my appearance right now may deceive you, I actually was a goth in high school, and most of my wardrobe is still black. So you shouldn't be surprised by any of my weird tastes in shows or books. And by weird, I mean glorious. So take care now as you're able, okay? And also, I want to work on closed captioning for my channel because I don't want to do disability content and not have closed captioning. So I need to figure out how to turn that on and or come up with just, I guess, have to fucking sit down and just type all of it out. I've done that before for some videos, but my brain's like, but I need to get it done because otherwise it's not fair because there are people who may want to watch this that can't, and that's not cool. So y'all take care now.